It's the energy that you feel and the pulsation that you feel. It's the connection point. And for some people, it's that exhilaration that they say, oh, it's because of the desire. The exhilaration exists, whether you have the desire or not. It's the desire that brings out in the human mind the exhilaration or the experience of it. They assign it that it's that, and therefore, oh, it came to fruition. I have this exhilaration. But in order to be a match to the desire, you have to be in alignment, right? You have to be in the having of it, being a vibrational match. And we even started this conversation. I came into this world of manifesting and energy because I wanted stuff, right?
Yes,
I wanted
yes.
the
No,
money.
absolutely. No,
Yeah.
no.
Yeah. But
Yeah.
now it's like, I enjoy and appreciate the life that I've created. And yet the desires are very different than I had today than I had those many years ago.
Oh, yeah. Desire changes all the time.
Yeah, absolutely.
Welcome to Letting Go and the Greatest Secret, where we explore the end of your suffering and the beginning of lasting happiness. I'm Hale Dwoskin, and today I'll be speaking with Christy Whitman. Christy Whitman is the channel for the Council, spiritual mentors here to spread the message of quantum energy mastery. Christy is a transformational leader, celebrity coach, and law of attraction expert, as well as a 2-time New York Times best-selling author. Her latest book, The Desire Factor, became an instant #1 bestseller. Christy, when you read The Greatest Secret, what is it about the book that struck you the most, or you resonated with the most?
Well, for me, I feel like I'm on the same vibrational frequency as it and the teachings of it. And, like Rhonda and many people have, come to law of attraction, for example, or The Secret, they're wanting something. They have a desire for something. And once you kind of understand that it's like, wait, I have this power to create my life and all things in it. And I had a moment of standing back going, I've created everything that I want. What more? And that missing kind of what more is really what I went searching for. And that's where I started working and downloading and channeling the council, who I now do healing work with, Christy and the council. And so that really getting into that frequency with them and understanding that it's all about the presence. It's all about understanding yourself as the awareness that you are. I think any of us that have those kind of awaken points, we have the moment when we realize we're not a certain thing that we thought we were, whether it's a thought or an emotion, right? And to be the presence that's beyond that. I mean, that's where, like the resistance just goes away instead of suppressing an emotion, right? Or feeling that there's just something off. It's sitting with it and going, okay, this feels off. What do I need to know here? What do I need to understand? Is there a different way to go? Let me be present with it and bring that awareness to it. You're always guided in the right direction. It's like you're following light. And that's what I love about The Greatest Secret is it really talks about and teaches about and gives practical information on how to be in that presence, how to know that presence. And I love that, she brought in so many different wonderful teachers like yourself and the different points of, whatever is resisting and that you push against it, it's going to continue. But if you just sit with it, whether it's an emotion, a thought, whatever it is, that presence, that awareness frees you. So.
Yes, great.
Yeah.
Great. So you have your own unique perspective when it comes to manifestation. And one of the things that you've been studying or looking at is the things that hold people back. So what are those things that hold people back from creating what they want?
Well, it's really not knowing who you are. It's being so identified with anything that is in lack or that feels limited or feels resisting. I came to understand who I am in my own spiritual nature and who am I becoming and evolving into on when I first learned that I've been trained in a perspective of lack, of struggle, of drama, of limitation, of separateness. And
Yes.
knowing what that even means, right? So there were times when I had to dance with the whole concept of competition and comparing myself to somebody else and letting myself be free of that and unwinding, if you will, that imprint or that programming of being competitive or comparing myself and not feeling that I'm enough and that I had to do that. Whereas
Sure.
now it's, just coming into an understanding of, I don't worry about what other people are doing. That messes me up when I do. Oh,
Right. Totally.
right. It's like, I'm just
Yeah.
going to do me and connect with the light, that the consciousness that is directly coming through me uniquely. Right. And follow that guidance. And anything that feels limited, that feels like a can't, that feels like a should, that feels that there's just chaos and drama and, doesn't feel good. That's not who we really are. And that's just
Yes.
imprinted.
Yes, yes. There are a lot of similarities between the core work that I do and the core work that you do, because one of the basic principles that we teach is feelings are just feelings. They're not facts and they're not you, and you can let them go. That's a part of our basic program, and it sounds like that's very much what you're talking about.
Yes, it's an understanding that the feelings, right? Someone says something and then we have a reaction. I was just having my talk with my husband this morning. We were talking about my oldest son who's 12. And there are some things that he can just say or an attitude or do. And it's like pushing the buttons inside my husband. And he's right. He makes it mean some things. And I said, well, here's the thing. The buttons are inside of you. If the buttons aren't inside of you, if he says those things, you can still parent, but without the emotion.
Right.
And most people
Just
don't.
We forget that we can come from a more authentic, loving place as opposed to an automatic reacting place.
Exactly. Because if we're reacting, it's coming from a button and the button's in us. But it's so easy to look at, well, my mother-in-law said that, or my, son did that, or my boss did that. And it's so easy to look at and be object referral instead of that it coming from the self and going, wait, I had that emotion. I'm not my emotion, but yet I'm having the experience of the emotion, and the emotion's telling me something. It's communication. As the council would say, you're drawing it to you because it's an attraction-based universe, right? You know that well. It's not an assertion-based universe. So we're attracting everything in our lives for ourselves. So if we're attracting that in, it's because it's in us. Otherwise, we wouldn't be attracting it. And so some that's good or bad, right? Right or wrong, or wanted or unwanted.
Sure. Are we attracting it, or are we just noticing what's actually there?
Both. We are resonating with the things in our universe. Like if we are in lack, right? We are attracting more things that are in lack. That stuff already exists though. Right? So it's both, right? And that's when we change our attention on something. Both abundance and evidence of lack exist right now. But where we're putting our energy, where we're putting our focus, that's what we then are attracting into our awareness. And that's what we see, right? Wherever our focus is based on our alignment, if we're in lack or we're out of abundance, or if we're in abundance.
Sure.
Yeah.
So that was, and I've heard you say that there are three things. Well, that sounds like one, or is that all three put together?
That's all three put together. If we want to break it down, it usually is ourselves. For example, if we say receive an idea, right? Or we receive I desire to do something, whatever that desire might be. When we receive that, we have three things that we could do with it, right? We can either flow with the idea, flow with the energy of it, get excited by it, right? We could absolutely do nothing, which the energy just dissipates and returns to where it comes from, or we can block it and resist it. And so those three things, depending on what do we do, right? Are we flowing with it? Are we doing something with the energy, just even aligning with it and going, ooh, that feels good, right? That's resonating with it. And then that energy grows. Or do we talk ourselves out of it saying, well, who am I to do that? Oh, it's already been done, or I don't know how to do that.
Sure.
right? Or
Sure.
other people could influence us as well, saying, aren't you too old? Aren't you too young? Isn't that
Right.
dangerous? Right? They want to give their words of wisdom because they care about us. And sometimes if we're not solid in our own alignment, others can talk us out of what we want and what we desire.
Mhm. Yes, that's definitely how it seems, for
Yeah.
sure. So you have a unique take on desire in general. Can you talk a little bit more about that?
I would love
Uh,
to. Yeah.
sure.
Yeah. So I have a new book called The Desire Factor, and it's really about giving ourselves an understanding and permission to have our desires, right? Because so many people talk themselves out of it. We've been
Yeah, we
taught
we think we shouldn't have it. It's not right.
exactly.
My mom wouldn't like it. My dad, society, whatever. Yeah.
Right. And even religious backgrounds, even the
Oh,
Buddhist,
absolutely. Yeah.
the Buddha said that desire is the root of all suffering. Well, what I say is not thinking that you can have it or believe it is the root of all suffering.
Mhm.
Having a desire that feels so good that you feel called, whether it's like purpose in your career, whatever it might be, to start a family, that desire is moving us forward. And each desire, it creates an opening for us to become more. So if the desire is moving us, right, which all desires move us in some direction, whether it's a desire to be loved or the desire to start a business, whatever the desire is, energy and movement, things happen when we have a desire. Without desire, nothing happens,
So,
right?
again, but isn't that a very saying that nothing happens without desire? Isn't that very focused on you as an individual being separate from the flow?
Not really, because when you think about the flow, we're connected to the flow. What the flow, divine, God, whatever you want to call that energy, that source, it's the one that gives us that movement and that desire towards something.
Mm-hmm.
So for example, if we get the desire, right, and then we do nothing with it, the energy will go to somebody else. So that's still the flow. The flow is still going to happen, right? It's like that's what they say, where someone might get an idea and then someone else might get that same idea. One person doesn't have a desire or talks themselves out of doing something, whereas another person moves on with it, and then all of a sudden it's like something gets invented, or something gets created, a piece of music or something. The energy flow always will continue. It's just, what do we do as individual units of consciousness with that desire? Do we block it? Because the flow is always there, like you're saying. The flow is always creating. Desire, the flow is always in desire. The flow has a desire to create, to move.
Yeah, but it just, again, I hear you, and I think I agree with the functionality of what you're saying, but isn't it, in my experience, it's a little different. The flow happens whether or not there's a desire. The flow is just what's unfolding naturally moment to moment, and our desires certainly influence how we relate to what is flowing, or
Mhm.
how we modify what is flowing. But the flow is universal. It's not dependent on you or me or anyone listening to this.
Correct.
It's something that's just a natural unfoldment of the whole.
Yes.
And in my experience, the whole doesn't really have desire. Individuals have desires, but the flow is a spontaneous unfolding of that one universal energy or force, isn't it?
Absolutely. I 100% agree with you, everything you're saying. And it's at that point where it becomes just pure energy, pure flow, as you're saying, that comes into an individual's consciousness, that then we become the action taker, right? We're the one that can be the channel of light to someone, or be a word of wisdom to someone, or write a book, or get on a stage, or create a family. We're the material to the non-physical, and the non-physical as units of consciousness are coming into each of us. And it's when it gets to the human level, it becomes a desire. But because that's, as humans, we desire, right? Whether again, whatever the desire may be, it could be I desire to go eat lunch. I'm not hungry. I don't want to eat. Right. So I don't go and eat because I just said, I don't feel like, I'm not hungry right now. There's no desire to do that.
Right. Yes. No, we actually think we are choosing
Saying
to
the same.
act or not act based on desire. That's definitely how it seems from the perspective of a separate individual. That's certainly how it seems.
Yes. But that's how we get back to the whole, is that where we feel that connection point of energy. Because if we're desiring and we're aligned with that desire, with the, let's take desire out of it. If we're aligned with the energy, because ultimately everybody desires whatever it is to feel a certain way. So it doesn't matter what the actual desire is, but what they're wanting to do, the desire brings them back to, I want to feel free, right? I want to feel secure. I want to feel joyful. I want to feel whatever it may be.
Yes, that basic desire is universal.
Yeah.
I want to feel safe. Those are all universal desires built into the system.
Yes. And so when we connect with that feeling, that's an energy, then we're connected as a unit of consciousness to the total. When we can feel that, it's like we can feel that good feeling flow. We feel the safety, when we feel the freedom, when we feel that energy, then we feel the expansiveness, right? That's when we actually, in a human experience, in the mind and the body, can feel one. That's why meditation is so important, right? It connects you to the oneness beyond the understanding of yourself as a thought, as an emotion, as a body, right? Mm-hmm. To be able to connect. That's at least what I have done in my 25 years of working with energy and meditation. And that's what's worked for me, is realizing when there is resistance, it's me that needs to, in my own consciousness, in the words that I say, in the thoughts that I think, in the perspective that I have, in the emotions that I either express or don't, and then the actions that I take, those things get me back into the flow. But even that is to have that awareness, that willingness, that desire to be back into the flow. Mm-hmm. So it's like desire is something that it's kind of like you have both, and you have the oneness, and then you do have the awareness of consciousness, right? This is a separate pen. I am a separate woman. Both exist, right? But the truth of all of it is that we are one.
Right. Well, but this feeling that I exist apart from the one isn't that in and of itself a limitation?
Yeah, but that's where most people are.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah. So, yeah, I mean, to just feel that you are light and you are one and you are the flow, that's right. But it's like for human beings that are in that place that this is matter, this is what's real. I think there's something up there. I think there's something new. I think there's something powerful. I feel it. But I'm wanting to feel that deeper connection.
Oh, of course, yeah.
Desires are that pathway that people become more of who they want to be, or, be or do or have.
Yes. But is it the desire itself, or is it when the desire, when it stops? Again, this might be purely semantic. And so I'm not trying to give you a hard time. In my experience, what happens is, yes, of course, desires are arising all the time. The nature of being a human being, the more identified you are as a individual, you think that you have your own individual, unique desires, and happiness and security comes from fulfilling them. That's definitely how most of us function in life. Yet over the work I've been doing since 1976, what I've noticed is that it isn't the fulfilling of the desire, or even and even the wanting it, that causes the happiness or the fulfillment or this inner security. It's the quietness or the openness or the connectedness that comes when that is complete or out of the way. So I hear you. We actually, I think, agree about that.
Yes, we're saying exactly the same thing, but in very different ways. It's that desire it's not the thing at the end. It's right. It's the energy that you feel and the pulsation that you feel. It's the connection point. And for some people, it's that exhilaration that they say, oh, it's because of the desire. The exhilaration exists, whether you have the desire or not. It's the desire that brings out in the human mind the exhilaration or the experience of it. They assign it that it's that, and therefore, oh, it came to fruition. I have this exhilaration. But in order to be a match to the desire, you have to be in alignment, right? You have to be in the having of it, being a vibrational match. And we even started this conversation. I came into this world of manifesting and energy because I wanted stuff, right?
Yes,
I wanted
yes.
the
No,
money.
absolutely. No,
Yeah.
no.
Yeah. But now it's like, right? It's like, I enjoy and appreciate the life that I've created. And yet the desires are very different than I have today than I had those many years ago.
Oh, yeah. Desire changes all the time.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
Mm.
And you weren't giving me a hard time. You're just speaking what you are,
Yeah, no.
and I love that.
Yeah, no. The Sedona method is based very much on desirelessness. That is what's natural. The desire, the way we experience desire is a disturbance often of this natural desirelessness that's already at our core. If you know you are all, if you know that you are the one energy, the one light, the one truth that is experiencing all of this, so on one level, that energy that you are and I am and all are is completely free of desire because it already is everything.
Yes.
And what I found through the work that I do is that the more you let go of desire, the more you find yourself naturally in action, achieving what it is you thought you wanted, or it just it drops away. It doesn't mean it's necessarily you missed an opportunity or it's gone somewhere else. You're just more in flow with whatever is supposed to be in this moment. And again, what you're saying is not at all in conflict with what I'm saying. It's just a different way of approaching the same thing.
Exactly. Yeah, yes, exactly. The human being, though, it's like, if you have a goal, desire, right? Getting focused on that, that's where the human being we need to focus on what do we want in our life, right? Because most people, again, are not in that consciousness to just be and really truly be in surrender of that flow, knowing that the flow is always going to lead to the good. It's like, what will light do? Where will light guide me? That's a question I ask myself all the time, right? It's like, well, this or that. It's like, where will light guide? Let light make the decision.
Right. And that in itself is a surrender.
Exactly. Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. So there's, it's a dance always between the human part of us and the non-physical that's always perfect and whole and light and, that provides and is safety and is there's no lack of anything in that space. And that's when the human goes to the lack or the struggle or the resistance. That's where we're not in alignment with what exists already.
So where does the human end and that which you truly are begin? Or where does what you truly are end and the human begin? Is there an actual borderline?
No, it's not like, okay, phase 1, phase 2, right? It's a blending. It's like a multidimensionality, like where you have the human experience very disconnected. We can see people that are in the world that are very much in fear and lack and
yes.
So that's on one end of the spectrum, right? And it's like, as the energy moves into the other end of the spectrum where you're aligned, right? Like I talk about the law of sufficiency and abundance. On one side of the spectrum, you have lack, which always feels bad. On the other side of the spectrum, you feel is abundance, which always feels good, right? And so you have divine will, which is, well-being and abundance and success and love. I mean, it all exists for all of us. But then you have the free will. Every single human being has been given free will. And to have the willingness to even change. I mean, you've been a teacher for a long time. I'm sure there's people that you've had the experience where they sign up for your courses and they put themselves in it and they're really have this willingness and this dedication. And they just like have these amazing results and experiences and, up leveling of connection. And then you have others that maybe sign up for something and then they don't really apply it, or they don't, there's the willingness, but the willingness to stay kind of where they are, or the comfort that's coming from, that mind of stay where you are, the fear talks
Yes.
to them.
Yes. Most people want to live in their comfort zone, or actually it's such a funny expression, because most people would prefer, exactly. Most people prefer to live. As soon as I said that, I realized that wasn't true. Most people prefer to live in the uncomfort zone than to step out. There may be a momentary discomfort as you step beyond where you used to being, but once you step beyond it, it's a whole other world that it's beyond comfort or not comfort. It's just a totally different experience.
It is. And yet there's that, managing and mastering the energy in the mind, because that obviously the mind, if it doesn't know the who, the where, the what, the how, all that, it then searches for, it does that searching at what worst possible things can happen. I see that I've been training coaches since 2008, in law of attraction and universal laws. And I see it with so many coaches. They're like, okay, now I'm certified. I want to put myself out there, but what if, right? What if the mind will start making up crazy stories that they'll be seen by everybody. They won't have paparazzi running them down the street like a Britney Spears or something, right? These crazy stories that our minds will make up because it doesn't know. And so it's bringing in that surrender and bringing in that connection with the divine, especially in all moments, but especially in the moments of transition, which we're always in transition,
right? Yeah,
from moment to this, right?
Yeah.
So
yeah, no, that's true. What most people do when they're when they're faced with any apparent decision point is panic on some level, or overthink it, or resist it, or deny it, or ignore it, or all the different strategies for not just facing what is in this moment and dealing with what's here now. So yeah.
Mm-hmm. It's just when you said it, it's like, what's here now? It's like everything is here right now.
Exactly. Yeah, in my experience, and I think you know what I'm talking about in this, and many people listening to me who have had this direct experience too. The only time you actually ever experience is now. The past and the future are all mental states.
Yeah.
Now is the only time we experience all vitality, all life, all action too. I mean, the only time you can do anything about anything is right now. Except most of us live as though you can go back and change the past, or you can control the future. But assuming that there is such a thing, but now is all there is, all we ever experience. Would you agree with that?
100%, absolutely. And the thing where the council talks about this is you have your now. That's it. It's like the purity of the universe is only available in the now, right now. And even 2 seconds ago, I can't go back and relive that unless I have some kind of emotion, some kind of trauma that's stuck in the past, that, or a projection into my future where I'm thinking about something in the future that I want or desire. If it's based on the past, it projects all that into the future.
Yes.
And so, that feeling of, if you look at the future and you feel the fear, it takes you away from the now, right? And if you're thinking of something that happened in the past and it brings up an emotion, it takes you out of the presence of the now. The now still exists, the energy's still there, but the presence of the, being in the awareness of it. And so the mind will literally bring us back to the past and can create that that button, like we talked about, right? Can create that trigger. Unless the trigger is released, then the past just becomes. I've seen this with so many clients. They release the energy of the past of a painful incident or a trauma or a bushwhack, and as soon as they do, they have that energetic attachment to the past. So they are more present. And when they are more present, because they're no longer being pulled by that energetically from the past, now they can know the divine in a totally different way than they ever did before, and then create the future that they want.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, because it's our emotion and our attachment and aversion to what was that creates this image of what will be, and neither has anything to do with what is.
Yes.
Not a thing.
Yeah. It's amazing how much the mind and the emotions can have the potential to take us out of the now.
Yeah, you know, one thing though, does it actually take us out of the now, or are those experiences happening now too? When you're re-experiencing some past memory, you can only do that now too, though, isn't that?
That's true.
Yeah,
that's very true. You're not experiencing. How could you experience it in the past? It doesn't exist.
Yes, exactly.
But when you're thinking about it, you're experiencing it again in the now.
Oh yeah, and most people experience the same thing over and over and over and over again. They prefer the discomfort of the pattern to the exquisite beauty of what's actually here. Yeah.
Yeah.
And they don't realize they're doing it. It's not like, okay, I'm going to suffer now.
I was just going to say that they don't even know that's happening.
Yes, yes. We forget. Anytime we're looking backwards or forwards, it's blinders that we put on that prevent us from being present as what is and responding appropriately.
Agreed, 100%.
Yeah.
Yeah. And it's the willingness. I mean, I look at my parents who are, lovely people, but they're in their 80s, and they're, it's been my greatest growth is undoing all the stuff I learned from being in the perspective of lack and limitation and drama, and being in the drama triangle and chaos. And that's where I came from. That's where my mentality was. I didn't know anything else. And when I started meditating and coming to the present moment, it was like, wow, there's more here than just me.
Yes, yes.
Right. And then realizing that when I get pulled out of that good feeling now, that's something that I need to cut the cord to. I need to process the emotion on
Yes.
Or if something like you're saying in the now triggers me, right? That's where that energy is red hot in that moment of the disappointment or the anger or the frustration, whatever is coming up. And it's only in the now that I can then process that energy out and heal the past.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
It's so fun. I love these conversations.
Yes. So what is some of the keys that you think you want people to take away from this conversation that you think will really help them?
Well, the biggest thing is that, when you know yourself to be energy, right? Even as a physical human being, it's one thing to feel the oneness and the presence. And then how do you do that in your daily life, right? Because we're all still humans, and we're, at work or with our families, or we're doing practical things. It's understanding that everything really is energy, and a thought is energy, and emotions are energy. And when you can find that attachment away from, I'm not that emotion, like we were saying, it's just energy in motion. And if something is feeling like resistance in my body, in my mind, in my emotions, in my mental body, any part of my body, my physical body, that's literally me directing that energy, because we're all energy masters of our own bodies, knowing that we are mastering with energy, the thoughts, the emotions, even anything, the physical ailments that happen in our bodies.
Sure. Well, even the body itself is just energy.
Exactly. So when we understand that we are energy receivers as a physical human being, we have to receive an energy. So we're not deliberately hooking up to all that is and feeling that flow, right? If we go out in say, a grocery store, and there's a lot of people running around with fear thoughts and worry and this kind of stuff, if we haven't filled up energetically, connected with who we really are, then we're going to pick up on that energy. That's why so many people, the crazy conversation about, oh, she's an empath or I'm an empath. I can't be around people because I'm an empath. It's like, No, just means you're sensitive to energy, which all of us are if we really think about it, because energy exists. We are energy. And it's just a matter of directing the energy, understanding that you can fill yourself up because we're energy receivers. We're also energy containers. If we're filled up with love and we're coming and exuding that love, we're also energy transmitters. So now we're being the influence, right? Instead of being influenced by that, we're being the influencer instead of being influenced by that energy. Mm-hmm. And understanding that, there's people on this planet, there's many connected ones, there's many disconnected ones. But when we allow in, whether it's through meditation or just processing energy, moving that energy in, and we're filling up our energy container and doing it not like once a week, but doing it consistently. It's almost like breath, because human beings we need to take care of our bodies, right? We don't sleep just once a month. We get up, we eliminate, we do that several times a day. We eat to fuel our bodies. We refresh ourselves with water or other liquids. I mean, just like taking care of our body in that way, we need to take care of our energy body.
Mm-hmm. Sure.
Yeah. So that's another big takeaway, is that we're energy, receivers, energy containers, and we're energy transmitters. And then, that becomes the secret, right? It's like law of attraction. You are bringing in your field all that exists already, but you're attracting it into your awareness, into your experience.
Mm-hmm. And so what else besides that? It sounded like you had several pointers. What is?
I do. So yes. So when we understand that we are energy receivers and we're energy containers, and then we're transmitting energy out, is that there's 5 aspects to our consciousness from what we do as a human being, from practical human experience. It's what we say, the words that we say, the thoughts that we think, the perspectives that we hold, the emotions that we have, and the actions that we take. And that when we are connecting to that higher energy, we could be more aware of words, because there are a lot of words that people say that pull their energy down and they don't even realize they're doing it.
Sure.
Like should, right?
Yeah.
What should I do?
Yeah. We call that shoulding on yourself.
Exactly. I've heard a lot of people say that, but I would say that you're probably the first person that ever said that, shoulding on yourself.
Yeah.
It's true. And the I can't, can't afford, can't do that.
Or I don't know. I don't know how. Yeah.
I'll try, like these are words that pull our energy down instead of, and it leaves us feeling in the lower end of the vibrational scale of victim instead of feeling empowered. So it's why, watching your words is essential. Actually, for years, I would get, people that would say, okay, you're talking about universal laws, right? How do you bring it into practicality? I'm like, watch your words, because words have creative power. And it creates a momentum of then thoughts and then beliefs and perspective. And, it's like, there's a train moving, and when it gets momentum going, right, it's harder to stop that train than if you catch it with your words. So watching your words.
So, but where does it start? Does it start with the thought or the emotion or the word? Which comes first?
Well, it's like, what comes first, the chicken or the egg, right? Because we have a thought, and thoughts are words. Right? Where did we learn these words? Well, it's what we learned, what was programmed, what make them mean. But the thoughts create the emotions, and the emotions create more thoughts. But what came first, the chicken or the egg? Right. What my work does is help people isolate into the emotions, because the emotion is the biggest, right?
Yeah, that's where, the way we agree very much in that if you think a particular way long enough, it turns into an emotion. Yes. And then, but in the moment, sometimes it's just that one triggering thought and a whole emotional complex comes up, and all the stories and the ideas and also all the memories attached to it all rises together, and it's hard to discern the difference. But discovering that you are not any of that and you can let it go is huge.
It's everything.
Yes.
I remember 25 years ago plus, I went and saw my meditation teacher for the first time. And she said to me, you create your own reality. Now, this is before The Secret and before
Yes,
lots
yes.
of internet and all that stuff, right? And I went, how? Like something in me opened up. I knew that to be true. I do create my own reality. How do I know that? Like something in me knew that, right? But I wasn't in contact with that yet, but it was coming out of me. And then she said, well, you're either repelling things from you or attracting things to you based on the way you think. And I thought, the way I think? What do you mean? I mean, I really thought I was my thoughts and my thoughts was me. And having that moment of going, wait a minute, and she told me, I just want you to go home for a week and pay attention to what you're thinking, which was, I'd never done that before in my life, right?
That's a revelation for most people. Yeah.
It is. I couldn't believe how negative I was in my head. I was so critical and judgmental. And something interesting happened because I called up my best friend and I'm having this revelation. I'm like, I am so negative. And she goes, Christy, you're one of the most positive people I know. And I'm like, well, then what's happening between here and here? Right. And it's like, it's coming out okay. It sounds all pretty and everything. It sounds all nice and rainbows and lollipops and unicorns, but there's like hell going on in here. And no matter what I was going to accomplish, no matter what I attracted to me, no matter what, if I've got that, like beating myself up in my head, guilt beating myself and shaming myself and criticizing myself, how could I ever be at peace? Because I was so identified with those thoughts.
Yes, but that is the key, the identification with the thoughts.
Yeah.
The less you identify, wouldn't you agree that the less you identify with the thoughts and the feelings, the less they're suffering?
100%.
Yes.
Yes, absolutely. Because hey, I'm having an emotion. I'm not my emotion. This isn't necessarily real. It's like I'm having it. I got to process it. But I can master the energy of that emotion instead of being mastered by it. That's free. That's freedom.
Yes, it's very freeing. It's
yeah.
true.
Yeah.
So what else?
What else?
Well, is there anything else you want to leave people with?
Just that understanding of you can practically feel like in a practical way in a daily basis, you can feel that feeling of freedom. And the things that are happening in the world that people are getting so caught up in, and we can send light to it, right? We can be a channel of light. We are a channel of light, but be aware of that. And when we hear something that disturbs us, instead of shrinking and feeling resistance or fear or whatever comes up, we can send light to it, as that light transforms. Yes. And the more that we do that, even to a thought, right, within ourselves, to the emotions, to outer situations, to a relationship, light changes everything. And it's us being in connect, even Mother Earth. I mean, Mother Earth is, Goddess Gaia is just screaming out right now, and fires here and hurricanes and places like that. If we can all just start to, especially the ones that are aware of this, start sending energy, and continuously send energy to those parts that are crying out for help of Mother Earth. It's like the human body. Get a backache, that part of you crying out for help.
Yes, yes.
So,
yes, some people relate to light. Some people, the word that they can really relate to is love.
Yeah.
Because that light and love are synonyms for the same energy.
Exactly.
And you, as you let go, you naturally focus that love where, it naturally flows where it needs to for the healing of the body, for the mind, the world, and for discovering what's true.
Yes. Well, thank you for all the work that you've done in this world, because it's just, I am allowed to do, and I'm doing what I do because of iterations of the groundwork that you have energetically, wisdom-wise brought to this planet. And so I really want to acknowledge you for that, because I'm so grateful that I get to do what I get to do, and that I have the understanding, and that I live my life in this way. And I know it's because of teachers like you that laid the groundwork. So thank you.
Oh, thank you. And thank you for picking up the torch and running with it.
Me too.
And thanks for your enthusiasm too. I can tell that you're really enthusiastic about what you do, and I'm sure you're helping many people.
Thank you.
So that's wonderful. I I hope you enjoyed our conversation with Christy Whitman. You can learn more about Christy at ChristyWhitman.com. That's Christywhitman.com. If you've enjoyed these podcasts, please subscribe so you have immediate access to future episodes. Please give us a 5-star rating and share it with the people you care about. If you'd like to learn more about my work, my mentor Lester Levinson's work, and the Sedona Method, please visit www.sedona.com. As you explore our site, you'll learn the key to lasting happiness, success, peace, and emotional well-being. We have books, courses, events, and plenty of free material to explore. Again, go to sedona.com. That's SEDONA.com. Thank you for being here, and we'll catch you in the next episode of Letting Go and the Greatest Secret.